Ladies and gentlemen, is the EFF imploding? Because according to reports that we have seen, quite a few people are resigning from their positions within the local legislative councils of South Africa. Joining me today is Byron, of course, and we're going to talk about this because if the EFF is imploding, that's good news for everyone.
Yeah, so basically this is a news story that's been circulating, and it would appear that this is all following, obviously, the elective conference, which the EFF recently had. But yeah, Juju came out on top, and obviously some new schmucks all over the show got new positions to help them align their pockets. But as a result of this, it does mean that the previous individuals have been required to vacate their offices. Now, some people have speculated that maybe this is the EFF's way of basically resigning from their positions of authority and possibly even gravitating towards the ANC. And that may very well be the case. We don't know. We can't verify it. It is just speculation at this point in time. But what we can say is that one of the EFF's dictates were when you got these positions of authorities, the individual, whoever got these positions, were required to buy a bakkie. And the reason that they were required to buy these bakkies was obviously for party work. And the problem now comes in, if that they are required to vacate these seats because somebody else were elected, who's paying for the bakkie? Because the buckie's debt doesn't just disappear. I mean, this is something that socialists never seem to understand. You know, you can't just spend other people's money forever. Like, debt actually needs to be paid off. It's not free. And so as a result, there are many individuals who are refusing to vacate their position because of the debt that could potentially lead them into.
Well, to have my answer, you will have to see it after a word from our sponsor, Bitvice. Let's be honest, Bitcoin is by far the best performing asset of the last decade, and a lot of people are using Bitcoin to hedge themselves against government overreach and fiat currency debasement, otherwise known as inflation. And that's why the guys over at Bitvice have developed their latest product, Sat Stacker. Essentially, you set a debit order, you accumulate Bitcoin every single month. Your Bitcoin won't be on an exchange, it won't be in anyone's hands, it will be directly deposited into your private wallet. So accumulate Bitcoin today, and every single month you set the price, you set the frequency, Sat Stacker does all the rest. In order to get started, click the link in the description below. So to me, there's only a few reasons why the EFF would be resigning en masse like this. Number one, according to Propaganda 24, is because there are new kids on the block, new positions of power, and they must take the old positions from the previous positions of power. That does make sense, I'm not going to lie, but most importantly, the EFF who were deployed into all these legislatures around the country, they now have quite a lot of experience, right? They would make great MPs in parliament. They understand the process better. Maybe they are being groomed to work out in a way that if the ANC and the EFF maybe join together in time to come, these could be the foot soldiers of that particular revolution. That to me makes sense as well. Take your best guys out of these lowly positions as legislatures and maybe keep them and groom them to one day become maybe members of parliament. That would work very, very well. The one slight issue is that if the EFF is forcing all these people to buy bakkies in their personal capacity and force them to pay for those bakkies in their personal capacity and then refusing to pay for those bakkies as the political party, that doesn't seem like a party that is, let's say, geared for growth. That seems to be a fundamental issue. If you force me to do something, Byron, through Morning Shot, but in my personal capacity, and I was liable for that debt if I left my position, that's highly irregular. Don't you think?
Yeah, but let's face it, the EFF is irregular. Like at the end of the day, you have to look at it and go, the EFF is only really there for position. Positions don't last forever. And I suppose that's symbols to the next guy that could be taking over in those positions, in those legislators. Hey, Mac, be careful what you wish for, because you may take this new position in Gauteng. But hey, when you leave it, you're going to have not so much moolah left with you. I do think that will mean that in terms of the future growth, that may limit them. With that being said, maybe you're right. Maybe it is that they want to take these individuals out and lead them into the legislature. These people are there for position, money, and privilege. And if they lose the position, money, and privilege that the EFF is offering them, and the ANC happens to offer it back, I see no reason why they wouldn't gravitate towards the ANC.
That's actually a very, very good point. And that is the double-edged sword that Julius has, right? So he dangles these positions, forces them to buy bakkies on personal credit, and then when needed, he takes the privilege away but keeps him with the debt, i.e. keeping them totally dependent on him, the godfather, for all the perks associated with political life in South Africa. The double-edged sword is maybe there's a bigger godfather out there like the ANC who sees this and I'll be like, we need a few more people, a few more radicals. The EFF is by far the best party in which that should happen. So that's the double-edged sword at the moment. Is the EFF imploding? I don't think quite yet, but If you know that your position within the EFF has all this baggage attached to it, it might leave people very skeptical about A, joining it in the first place, and B, being completely under the foot of Julius Malema for a long period of time. So we will see where this goes, I suppose.
Let's face it, the EFF in its current format is deemed to be a political clown party. It's very difficult for the EFF to look at this just from a principle point of view. It's far more likely that the EFF will look at it from a monetary point of view. And let's face it, when it comes to bank accounts, the ANC's bank accounts is bigger than the EFF, and that's really all that matters.